Hello there, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Started a little behind schedule, which is unusual for a CMap webinar, but there we go. I won't let you into the inner workings of the gremlins holding me back, but safe to say we are off and running. So thank you for joining us. The webinar is called More Juice Per Squeeze, How to Win Higher Value Engagements. And it's with myself and David A. Fields. Today's topic has a business development sales focus, and it's actually through more of the lens of an account expansion perspective. So identifying winning higher margin projects, longer pieces of work, getting extensions. So perfect for lots of professional services firms we work with, who tend to have that more select number of clients that are right for cross-selling, upselling, and growth. We usually find in the first minute or so that people are joining us fresh out of meetings. So as I can see, those attendee numbers just tick up. I'll give everyone a quick second to settle in. And for those who don't know me, my name is Ben Edwards, and I'm the head of partnerships here at CMap, and also some of the main points of contact for North American boutique consultancies on our platform. CMap's a PSA, it's a consulting operations platform, and my role here is just to run today's session. It's going to be a bit different to the usual ones, but I'm delighted for that fact, and you'll see why in a couple of minutes. But it's going to be sort of part panel, part interactive discussion. So we're going to be encouraging lots of interaction today, messaging us your thoughts, asking questions, getting some immediate feedback on topics. We're using the Zoom webinar format, so unfortunately we can't ask people to come on camera or hear from you, but we can use the chat, which is at the bottom of your Zoom panel, to get some interaction at different points. Our expert today is David A. Fields, and he's a best-selling author on consulting. He regularly conducts some great live streams on LinkedIn, focused on boutique consultancies. So make sure you follow him immediately. And that's actually how I first came across David. I was looking at the North American consulting landscape. I saw him presenting on a session that was around growth strategies. He was taking live questions from consultancies all around sales. So I know this is going to be an area of expertise for him. Like I just mentioned, we're going to get into David's session shortly. But before we do that, get thinking about the following areas, because we'd love to get those questions or some challenges that you might be facing on the topics that we sort of talked about in the marketing coming up to this event. So it's the factors that drive lucrative engagements, overcoming obstacles to higher fees, increasing the size of your projects, getting premiums on those proposals, and powering up your negotiation. So get thinking about all of those, because your thoughts and feedback on those topics will be important throughout. Final piece from me, 3 quick housekeeping elements. We've got 55 minutes. David's going to do an intro, and then we're going to be doing the bulk of the session, listening and talking with him. And I've also left some specific time at the end for any additional questions that might come out through today's session that maybe you don't feel like you want to ask in flight. And we're also going to be recording today's webinar, and an open access link is going to be sent out to you tomorrow so that you can rewatch it or share. David, enough from me. Over to you.
I was enjoying that. That was lovely, and I learned how you first came into sort of our orbit. So that was excellent. That was interesting. And I actually, before I even dive into anything, I would like to get a bit of a sense for who's on the webinar. And just so you know, when I look at your answers, you're down here. So if I'm looking away, it's because I need to look slightly away to see your answers. If you wouldn't mind in the chat saying what kind of professional services firm you run, or if you don't run a professional services firm, say that. That would be extremely helpful. So just type in to the chat, consulting or something else. We deal only with consulting firms, and so that's my area of expertise. That's what's going to be driving things. But if you wouldn't mind just typing in, that would be great. And Ben, you can tell me if there's nobody typing, or there's nobody here, or if it's just not coming up on my screen, because I'm not seeing the type of firms yet.
I haven't got anybody who is okay. One, two, few coming in. Oh, and the chat is saying chat is disabled. So that is
Okay, so that's not going to work. Can you enable the chat? Is that possible or not?
I'm sure I've got a colleague who is with me in the
Okay,
background, Tom, who will be
that
able
will
to do
make
that.
things run substantially better.
Yeah.
I found chat just works better if it's enabled. But while you're sorting that out, we'll come back to that question. Let me just say I'm glad that you're here. Ben, I'm glad you're here. Oh, there we go. Consultancy starting to come up now. Thank you so much. And you know what? I'm really glad that I get to be here with you. Uh, this is fun. It's enjoyable. It's something I like to do. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for creating the opportunity to spend some time with you. So we have consulting, business development, excellent, commercial skills training, professional services, consultancy, excellent. Others, just let me know what kind of firm you have. That would be excellent. And actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask one other question. Here's what I'm going to suggest, actually. Put your, on chat, then can they select to send a chat just to me? Folks, thumbs up if you can, or send a chat just to me, management consulting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Set your chat just to me. Because I want to ask you a question that will help me. I won't reveal who's saying what, but it will help me just gauge where to put this particular discussion. What was your revenue in 2023? I just need to know rough scale of the firms that are here. So send just to me. What was the okay, great. Folks are letting me know. This give me a good idea on size. We have folks in the low million pound range. 10. Okay. 3. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Thank you all so much. This is great. This is a perfect range. Number of employees. Okay, and I can calculate from that. All right. Excellent. That helps a lot. And for those of you who haven't answered yet, feel free to throw answers in, because this then will guide how I frame this. Just a minute of background on me. I've written a couple books. One of them was this Executive Guide to Consultants, was actually meant for your prospects, for your clients. And but the book that more folks would know me from is the Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients. If you don't have that, I would recommend it. Not just because I wrote it. It is the best-selling, highest-rated book on building a consulting practice, certainly with having to do with business development for consulting. So that's worth picking up. My firm, which is roughly the size of many of the firms here, we do one thing. We work with small consulting firms. That is it. And we help those small consulting firms grow, which could mean different things for different owners. But that's all we do, is help small consulting firms achieve what the owners want them to achieve, whether that's higher scale or higher profits or what have you. I've been in the consulting business since '97, so that puts it at what, 24 years, something like that. No, 20, more than that, 27 years, a lot of time. I've been here so long I can't even calculate anymore how many years it is. Been in consulting a long time, worked in a boutique consulting practice, co-founded a practice, which was an interesting experiment, and I will show you some of what came up from that, some experiences from that. But a number of years ago, I fell into this sort of business of working with consultants and other consulting firms, and that ate the rest of our business. So our firm now, for the past 6, 7, 8 years, have worked exclusively with other consulting firms, and we have helped build hundreds of them. Ben asked me to make sure I spend enough time explaining who I am. That's more than I would normally do. Ben, is that sufficient? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Yeah, that was perfect. And I'm glad, like, when people were telling us what they are, that it's not a load of artists and bakers, it was professional service firms. So big relief.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, I'll talk about baking especially, but it works better in consulting. All right. So again, actually, you can set this to whatever you want. You can set it to just to me, the chat, or you can set it to everyone. But here's a little quiz for you. And in the chat, I'm going to ask you to put in 2 numbers. So don't hit enter until I get both numbers from you. First number, from 1 to 100, what percentage of proposals that you submit to prospects contain a fee that you think is extremely high? So just put a number between 1 and 100. What percentage of proposals contain a fee that you think is extremely high? Okay, when you have that number in, don't overthink it. Put in a comma. And then give me another number. What percentage of proposals that you submit to prospects contain a fee that you suspect your prospect will think is extremely high? So again, give me that second number. And once you have both numbers, hit enter. And I want to see the numbers as they come up. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Been doing this particular survey, and it's really helpful to get this from you for over a decade. And so I have a pretty good sense for where the numbers will come in, but you never know. Every group's a little bit different. All right, excellent, outstanding. I'm going to use those numbers as we come back. Today's about one thing. I'm going to show you one thing. Right now, you make whatever. You make this little bag of cash. That's not bad. Good thing to do. You've got a firm. I saw your revenue. All of you have a bag of cash. That's a pretty good thing. And today, I want to give you the formula to make a bigger bag of cash. Whatever you decide to do with that cash is up to you. We're not going to discuss that today. Today is just giving you the formula from go to here to there. Hopefully that works. And we'll spend a little bit of time maybe on how you apply that formula. That would take more than we have in this hour. It would take probably most of this week. But we can at least touch on it so we can get started. That's the plan. So hopefully, I can't see your thumbs up. I have to go with only Ben. If Ben gives me a thumbs up, he's speaking for all these. Thumbs up. All right, there we go. All right, let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. These are real life examples. These actually, these occurred to me. I'm going to give you two examples, both of which are from when I was running the consulting firm that focused on corporate. So first example, in our world, you can distinguish clients from consultants because clients wear hats. It's a secret of David A. Field's world. Clients wear hats. So I get a call from a gentleman named Clark, who was running or in the C-suite of a medical company, medical devices company, actually out in the Midwest. And Clark says, I've got this challenge I want to solve. And so I would like a seminar. I would like someone to come in and do a seminar, which I think will solve this challenge. But not only that, Clark said, oh, and by the way, I've already talked to people who can provide this seminar. I'm pretty sure I know who I want to use, and it costs about $25,000. These were real numbers from a decade ago, and it is what it is. So here's the situation. Oh, and he says, oh, and by the way, David, I'm just calling you with a courtesy. I already know who I want to use, but we've known each other for a while, and so I thought it'd be nice to give you a call because I think maybe you do this kind of stuff. So he has a very fixed idea of what he wants to do. He has a budget, and he has someone that he knows he wants to do it. I'm like, all right, let's talk for a little bit. We talk for a little bit. I say, how about a $95,000 engagement? He says, okay. And that $95,000 then rolled over into another engagement. That's more juice per squeeze. How is it that we went from $25,000 when I'm not even the preferred vendor to $95,000? That's what I want to talk about. Let me give you one more example. This is a chemical company out of Pennsylvania, and they had operations in the West. And it's a mining operation. And so I get a call from this person in the mining company and this chemical company, and he says, we need help with train throughput. So actually what they needed is they had cars of soda ash, and this is how they made money, by shipping soda ash. Don't ask what soda ash is or what it does. Maybe some of you know. And they wanted to figure out how to fit more cars into the train yard, get more throughput. You ship more cars, you can get more money. I know nothing about this stuff. But the way I ran the firm years ago, this predates sort of the Catalant or Umbrex or those sorts of folks, is that we could, I would bring in experts to do these sorts of things. So I turn to an expert and I say, hey, I need your help on train throughput. And so what would it cost to do this? And sorry about there's noise in the background. I asked the expert, what would it cost to do this? And the expert says, $125,000. Great. That's what it costs to figure out train throughput. This person is very good at it. And so I go to the client and say, yeah, we can solve your problem. It will be $495,000. Client says, okay. Same work. This consultant would have done it for $125,000. We sold it for $495,000. That's more juice per squeeze. Oh, and by the way, I gave the consultant more than $125,000 and everybody's happy. The client's happy. Consultant's happy. I'm happy. All right. That's the idea for today. I want to spend just a little bit of time on principles, just a little bit of time, and then we'll dive into application and discussion and figure out how to make this actually work for you. Principles, there we go. We got another thumbs up. I'm all for that. Principles, really straightforward. Here's your glass of juice. So we want more juice in the glass. So how do you figure out how much juice you're going to get in the glass? Well, there's there's three factors involved. One is, what kind of fruit do you have? What size fruit do you have? Do you have a big grapefruit or do you have a little peach? Big grapefruit, more juice. Little peach, less juice. So one, it's right there. How juicy is this? Do you have this sort of grapefruit that's mostly rind, or do you have this grapefruit that's overflowing with juice? More juiciness, more juice in the glass. Less juiciness, more pulp or air in the glass. And then finally, what's your ability to squeeze juice out of each piece of fruit? All right, so let's just make this metaphor real for consultancies. Juice per squeeze is project size. How big a project are you working on? Fee premium. How much can you actually get given any size project? What fees can you actually get from that project? And then finally, negotiation strength. Your ability not only to talk about a bigger project, to say and ask for bigger fees, higher fees, or fee premium, your ability to bring that in. That right there is your juice per squeeze formula. It's really straightforward. I should back up one moment and say, if you want to look at your firm's total revenue, your total revenue is also easy to calculate. It's the number of clients times the number of projects per client times your average fee per project. That's straight up math. That will, if you multiply those out, you get your revenue as a firm. We're not going to talk about how you win more clients. That was the subject of that book. You can just go grab a book, or we'll help you in a different webinar. And we're not going to talk about how to win follow-on, how we get more projects. It's all about the third piece. How much revenue per project? How much juice per squeeze? And there's your three pieces. Project size, fee premium, negotiation strength. That's it. There you go. That's my prepared webinar. So we now have the formula. You know everything you need to know. Because we have some time, but not a ton of time. So first of all, in the chat, just say helpful yes, not helpful no, and then tell me which of these three you'd like to talk about. And whichever of these three you'd like to talk about, that's what we'll talk about. So put in the chat, and then Ben, you can also vote. But let's see what we've got a thumbs up from Lindsay. Which do you want to talk about? Fee premium, got it. Project size, one of each. Okay, there as usual. There's 3 consultants, 11 opinions. What else we got? It looks like, ooh, it's a bit of a tie. Anybody else want to vote? I'm thinking fee premium, maybe negotiation strength. That'd be a surprise. We can go there. We can go to anyone. What do you think, Ben? What do you want to do?
Yeah, well, the audience is suggesting negotiation strength is possibly the first point of call, and then if we go into the other areas, we'll do that. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, we can do that. Let me skip over a couple of pages here and get to, and then we'll get to techniques, and we'll focus in on negotiation strength. That's interesting because that's unusual. I like this group. You got unusual requests. So let me jump past this and go right here. All right. So we have just a bazillion techniques that you can use that will affect 1 or 2 or 3 of these factors in the juice per squeeze formula, right? That will affect either the project size, or your fee premiums or negotiation strength, and some of them affect multiple. And I just grabbed a dozen of them to play with today, depending on what came up. So let's talk. Actually, if you want to talk negotiation strength, let's talk negotiation strength. What affects negotiation strength? Well, we're going to start with the street urchin trap. So let me press the street urchin trap button, because that's definitely going to have an impact on your ability to negotiate, because it affects where you start. And I happen to know all of you fall into this trap. Well, almost all of you, because of your answers from earlier. Okay. The best way to start about this, let's start here. Street urchin trap. Tell me, again, in the chat, if you don't mind, what you think the biggest obstacle is to more juice per squeeze. Just type in, what do you think gets in the way of you winning bigger projects for higher fees and taking that home? And I'll wait while you type in, because I want to see what your answer is. What's in the way? Procurement. Yeah, those procurement people. Sales prevention. That's what they should be called. The sales prevention group. Internal sign-off, budgets, competitors. Client procurement. Lack of true understanding of what client is prepared to pay. Okay, yeah, good. Well, maybe we'll jump into that also at some point. Those are all excellent. Typical responses. Anybody else has one, feel free to put it in. Those are all excellent, and they're actually not the biggest obstacle. The biggest obstacle is what we call the street urchin trap. And let me show you what this is. Here's your single axis. This axis is money. There's no other axis because it doesn't really matter. We have an axis which is money. And on this axis, there's a line which is the fees that you put into your proposal. Whatever that is, 100,000, million, whatever it is. And up here is the value of the work you could do for a client. Now, no, there's two pieces of here. One, value and work you could do. So the work you could do for that client is probably more than the work you've been asked to do or the work you've proposed. And the value of that work is actually higher than the value you've proposed, because your value is represented by your fees. Again, so I used to teach microeconomics at university. And so some of that will slip in here. Your value is directly your fees. This gap right here, that's money left on the table. This is the street urchin trap is not closing this gap. And you're saying, well, why is it called the street urchin trap? I will tell you. Many of you probably remember a movie or a musical play. I don't know, there's a book called Oliver Twist. And in Oliver Twist, if you don't know, this is set in sort of Dickensian England, right? So back when Ben was growing up, and factories everywhere, and you these young ragamuffins wandering around the streets, you know, in raggedy clothes and orphans and getting in the way and all of that. And they're in this story, they're in an orphanage, and they're given one bowl of this gruel, this sort of thin, watery, non-filling meal to have during the day. And so Oliver, the star of this movie, gets his one bowl of unappetizing, unsatisfying gruel and eats it. And then he has either the temerity or dim wits or whatever you want to call it to go up to the front and say some famous words, which I'll get wrong. Something like, please, sir, may I have some more? Right? That's the movie. That's the famous line from the movie. All right. Now, those of you who know the movie or the musical know he gets kicked out of the orphanage. But that's not the point. Okay, so don't focus on that. That's not the point. The point is he asked for more. And so that's what you need to be. You need to do. You need to be like Oliver Twist, and don't be afraid to ask for more. The number one obstacle to winning higher fees is actually not procurement. It is not internal budgets or any of that. It's your willingness or unwillingness to ask for more. Let me show you this in real world. I'll give you one example outside of consulting, and then I'll give you an example inside consulting. Years and years ago, I was in a physician's office and stumbled on a golf magazine. I'm not a golfer. When I go on a golf course, it's landscaping, and they usually chase me off. But I stumbled on this magazine. I was looking through, and they had like they had a list of the top golf professionals in the world, and they had their rates. I went, oh, this is kind of interesting. And I looked down, and I saw something. Number 17 was Jim Suddy. This was years ago, and he charged $230 an hour. Number 17 was Manuel de la Torre. He charged $80 an hour. Okay, well, that's a gap. They're both tied at 17, and yet there's a pretty big gap in what they charge. 16, Gary Wren, $250. Randy Smith, $150. 15. 14, Dave Peltz, $30,000 a day. 12, Bob Toski, $150 an hour. And it kind of continued down here. Now, you may have noticed, like I did, a certain aberration. Dave Peltz is asking and getting $30,000 a day, whereas these other folks are getting a couple $100 an hour, which if you multiply it out by your typical 90-hour day, still doesn't get you to $30,000 for the day. Why was Dave Peltz getting this? Well, there are some good reasons why he was able to command it, but the big fact is he asked for it. He asked for it. One of the early firms we worked with was actually a fairly large firm in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and in terms of consulting firms. And talking to the CEO of that firm, who is actually a good friend now, I asked him how they got to north of $100 million. And he said, well, back when he was early on in the firm, he joined it, he didn't start it, but back early on, when they won a 7-figure project, it was this huge celebration. They ring the gongs, and like everybody cheered. Look at this great project we won. And by the time we were working together, he said, if a project wasn't 7 figures, everybody's like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you signing a 7-figure project? And I asked him, of course, well, how did you get from it being a rarity to it being something that was expected? And his first answer was, we learned to ask for it. We learned to ask for the business. So that's the street urchin trap. Is the first thing, more important than anything else I might show you, is learn to just ask for higher fees, for bigger projects. And that will help you in negotiation strength, because if you do not start high, you cannot end high. That's one of our principles for negotiation strength. Start high and end high. If you don't start high, you'll never end high. Yay? Nay? Makes sense? What do folks think? Is that helpful? Not helpful?
Yeah, and is that why you were asking for those numbers earlier? And
yeah, that's exactly right. And that's how I know everybody falls into this. Because your numbers, thank you for reminding me, Ben, your numbers, when I ask what percentage of proposals that you submit contain a fee that you think is very, very high and that your client will think is very, very high, the vast majority of you had at least one number that was under 100%. Some of you had numbers that were 10 and 20%. And all of you should have numbers that are 100%. Every proposal you submit should contain at least one fee, because you can submit more than one fee, even in an RFP situation. You should submit at least one fee that you think and your client will think is very, very high. And yeah, all of you are falling into this trap because of exactly what you said, Ben. I know that because I looked at your numbers as they were going across the screen.
Are there any tips that you would recommend how firms actually go about asking? Because I'm going to presume there's an element of discovery that needs to take place. There's an element of multi-threading, buying, getting multiple stakeholder buy-in. You talk a little bit to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and we can absolutely talk about that. I don't want to gloss over the fact, though, that Ben, if you're my client, and we've done discovery. Discovery is incredibly important, and I'm going to answer some of the questions that have come up. Then, if you're my client, we've done discovery. What I have learned is almost every consultant says, all right, here's the project I want to do, and through some process come up with fees, and we can talk about fee structures if you want. And then when we talk through the the fees with them, and I say, well, how much are you going to charge? And they say, you know, say X. If I go to you and say X, you might say, okay. But if I say, instead of $100,000, I say, Ben, here's the project, it's 130. If you're going to say yes, you're still going to say yes. Because if I've established all the pieces I need to establish to win the business, I'm going to win it at 130 versus 100. And that $30,000, that premium, that $30,000 will double, a little more than double, 150% of the bottom line impact if I'm using standard margin. Someone said, how does this, sorry, go ahead, Ben, because I was going to answer the question. Someone said, how does this work in competitive bid? Can I answer that, or do you want to jump in? All right. Here's what we have found. This varies a little bit by market. So I want to actually split up the markets as government or regulated, call it regulated bids, versus commercial. What we have found is in the commercial world, if you do all the things you need to do early in the process to win the consulting project, you can charge up to 3 times as much as competitors and still win. And as a matter of fact, as you saw in one of those early examples, Clark from Indiana, he was getting bids at 25,000. Now, I didn't bid the same work. I bid different work. But I got over 3 times as much as anybody else. Even for the same work or for very similar work, you can get up to about 3 times as much in a commercial situation. In a regulated or government RFP process, we have found it tops out at about 20, maybe 25%. And unfortunately, in the way regulated bids work, they're often prohibited from using a supplier that's more than 20% higher than the next highest bid. So unless you can get a friend to also bid high, that is a bit of a difference. But we've seen that really consistently, that ability to win multiples on what other people. Ben, you had a
so plenty of our clients do T&M work as well as fixed fee engagements. I'm just wondering how applicable that would be in that scenario, or whether you would actually just advocate them changing the model and moving from predominantly T&M to doing more fixed fee so that you can do this.
Yeah, so in terms of this, so that's getting the fee structure, which will definitely pull us away from negotiation strength, though you know, it does apply some. Do you want to talk about fee structure for a moment?
Sure, please.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Somewhere on here, I've got a fee structure button. Okay, so let's talk about fee structure, because fee structure has a huge impact on your juice per squeeze. Has a little bit of impact on negotiation. It has more impact on fee premiums. So how much you actually you get from it. Where it does go into negotiation strength is certain fee structures are easier to negotiate than others, and they may not be the ones that you think. We'll just do a couple minutes of principles or theory on fee structures. Let me lay out the way to think about fee structures. 2 axes. We are consultants, and so we have to have a double axis chart somewhere in the presentation, or I'm pretty sure we lose our consulting license. Okay, so on what basis are your fees determined? You can determine them based on cost, on inputs, on what goes into the project, hours, time, people, or on value, what is produced by your project. The other axis is when are your fees determined? They can be determined upfront, before the project starts, you know exactly what the fee will be, or somehow at the end, they're determined. Okay? So then we have 4 basic fee structures. Down here is variable time materials, which is what you have brought up, where, well, we'll charge by the hour. It's based on an input, hours, or days, or weeks, and we'll know at the end how many hours, how many weeks it took. Variable time materials. Here you've got fixed time materials. Whether you let the client know it or not, if you say, okay, it's going to take 3 people, 8 weeks, full time, 24 man days, or whatever it is, and we calculate out this rate. Here's what we're going to charge. That's fixed time materials. Client pays what they pay. Up here is a fixed value based fee. You think, this project is going to make them millions of dollars. I deserve hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is what I'm going to charge. If it takes a day, great. If it takes a month, so be it. Based on value. And over here you have what's typically called success fees, skin in the game fees, where it's based on the value. If you're smart, it's based on the value you produce, as opposed to the ultimate value that the client recognizes. But it's somehow at the end based on value. So if you draw this for yourself, or if you have this handy and you put your finger there and draw a curve around, what you're going to see is, all else being equal, you, as a consulting firm, if you do good work, you will make more money. You'll have a higher premium. More will come to the bottom line. You'll get more juice as you go around this curve. Variable time materials, that is your lowest fee option. It turns out it's actually the hardest to negotiate also, because it's commoditized. You're basically saying, I'm selling a commodity, an input, as opposed to I'm selling something that's not a commodity, an output. There are two hybrid models, and then there's an entirely other pricing model, which I'll mention. Down here is where a lot of clients want it to be, and this sort of, what they want is variable time and materials with a cap. Don't do that. That is the single worst fee structure there is for you and for clients. Now, the reason clients want this is because they overvalue budget certainty. Economically, it's really bad for them to do this. But emotionally, where you want budget certainty, or if their job's on the line, somehow they need budget certainty, they overvalue it, and so they go there. But it's actually not best for them. That's provably the case. The very best fee structure for everybody is up here. Is a value-based project where some percentage of it is based on success, where the client is limiting their risk and you are increasing your upside. And I'll give you one quick example, if that's all right. So we had a project that had to do with integration. There was a company that came in, they'd bought a whole bunch of other companies. They wanted to integrate it. We were brought in by the C something, I don't know, I don't recall anymore. But he needed to present his integration plan to the board, okay? So this one, I'll make up the numbers a little bit. If we had done this on a time and materials basis, or if a consulting firm like ours had done this, it would have cost about $40,000, in that range. If we had said, you know what, we're going to calculate in advance what we think this will take us, and put a fee, a time and materials based fee, we would charge 45. Why? Because any company that does fixed fee charges a premium over what it would actually cost, because you need to account for the risk. That's one of the reasons why fixed time materials with a cap is provably bad. Okay, so we would have charged 45,000. We don't charge that way. What we did is we went in and said, look, here's your project. This is the value of having this plan. Based on value, we would like $65,000 for this project, for this plan. Except we gave an option, which the client took. We will put some percentage of the $65,000 at risk, 30,000 in this case. So you will only pay 35,000, less than if you had done time materials basis. And only if we are successful, you'll pay us a bonus of $60,000. We're going to double what we put at risk, which of course, we did good work. And setting those up takes a little bit of finesse. And as a result, we made $95,000. So for this project, we made $95,000 for the exact same amount of work that another firm would have made $40,000. That is more juice per squeeze. This is easier to negotiate than this is. At $40,000 time materials, you are fighting procurement, you are fighting other hourly providers. Up here, you're not fighting procurement. All you're doing is you're having a discussion on, do you want this outcome or not? Is this outcome valuable to you or not? What I will tell you is a lot of firms will not engage in this structure for the same reason they like the structure down there. It's because this creates budget uncertainty. And even though it's better for them, there are just some companies that can't deal with budget uncertainty. There's an interesting question here. So hopefully that makes sense on fee structures. Ben, yeah? One other fee structure, I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to say just look this up on my site. If you go to davidafields.com, you can look up Colorado pricing. It is a different pricing structure, which is call it a forever structure. It's a way of being with a client for years and years and years. It's for a very certain circumstance where there's tons of work to be done, and the gating factor is the budget. And it's kind of interesting. If that's the situation you're in, I would just go to the site and look up Colorado pricing.
Before you answer the question in the chat, David, I'll say I know that's of interest because before this webinar, somebody messaged me and said, is there going to be a scenario where David looks at the getting your foot in the door pricing on the promise that there's much longer and bigger expansion opportunities?
Yeah.
That seems to speak to that.
Well, the Colorado pricing is actually quite different from getting your foot in the door pricing. Colorado pricing is where I would go to you, Ben, and say, Ben, you've got a ton of work to be done. I had this discussion with a consultant yesterday. We're proposing to his client. You've got so much work to be done. It's going to take years to do it all. So the only challenge is you do not have unlimited funds to give me right now. What fee level would be comfortable for you to basically pay me forever, every quarter from now until we're both old and gray? And then I will scope, given this huge amount of work we have to do, I will scope so that it fits inside that level and you feel like you're getting tremendous value. And if at any time you don't feel like you're getting amazing value, you let me know and we'll fix things. Well, what's that fee level, that forever pricing? And then you tell me, well, David, how about $10,000 a month? Or how about 120 a quarter? Say, great. We'll scope into that, and we're going to have this relationship that goes on forever based on 10,000 a month or 120 a quarter or whatever it is. That's Colorado pricing. Get your foot in the door pricing is handled correctly can be very effective. But the question is, how do you handle it correctly? And the answer is you can do a small project at a premium fee rather than a sizable project at a discount fee. Those are two different ways to get to a low fee, right? Low fee, low risk, easy for a client to buy. You do not want to discount your prices. Discounting is, I've rarely seen that work out. I have, over the past 10 years, seen it work out maybe once, but that's about it. With a firm out in LA, was able to pull it off. I would advise against it, especially if you're dealing with clients that have procurement. You never want to give a discounted price into procurement. You will end up fighting it, and all the focus then becomes about price as opposed to outcomes and value and your collaboration and partnership with your client. So stay away from discounted prices. Instead, go with small scope and then charge a premium for it being a small scope. I would get your foot in the door through a tight offering that creates a lot of value and gets great return on a good high margin offering, rather than trying to get in by saying, yeah, we'll do this at a discount and later make it up. And clients will hold that up. They'll dangle that. Oh, if you work with us, give us a good price now. There's gonna be all this work for the future. Doesn't happen. Seen it across dozens, scores of firms. Yeah, I wouldn't go there. Feel free to disagree, though. If anybody's got different experience, I'm always open to learning from other people's experience. Ben?
There's a question in around professional services organizations extracting success fees from clients rather than wriggling out of the agreement.
If you set it up correctly, it's 100%. Look, I actually have not seen clients try to wriggle out of the agreement. And that ranges from fairly small clients to quite large clients. If you're dealing with large clients, they don't try to wriggle out because it's contractual, and they're big companies. And for a multi-billion-dollar company to try to wriggle out of $100,000 or a few $100,000 in success fees or less than that, it's just not worth their time and their energy, and it's just not how they want to be perceived. So that doesn't happen. Smaller companies, there might be more risk, but remember, they're only paying success fees if you've been successful, and that has to be defined correctly up front. Similarly, up front, you need to identify and deal with any exogenous factors that could get in the way of success fees. The soda ash, we didn't do success fees, but we talked about them. That would have been an interesting example because the market price of soda ash varies. It's a commodity. And if we based our success fees on the actual revenue they received from all the cars that went through, which have been reasonable, that's success to them, how much actual soda ash revenue do they get? And they can get more if there's more throughput. Well, we would have been subject to the price of soda ash. That's exogenous. That's outside. So when we were discussing it, we put that to the side. Now, as it ended up, that just was a $495 fixed fee engagement.
I saw one client, not client, sorry, one consultancy talk about a success that they had with success fees. And what they did is they tracked just a couple of KPIs that were part of their clients' regular management reports. They made sure they were on those regular, in this case, bi-weekly reports, and it was around conversion. There was a conversion metric that the client was tracking, and this consultancy helped them go from X to Y. And the billing was every couple of weeks, i.e. directly in line with those measurements. So those are 3 quick things there that I've seen work quite well.
Yeah, absolutely right. What you want to do is minimize your audit burden, which means if you're tracking a metric that's already being tracked, if you can get access to it, which is the example you gave, that's extremely helpful. You don't want to be in a situation where there's a new metric. It may or may not be tracked. It may not be tracked correctly or in a way you all agree with or a way that's valid or reliable, in that you have to get access to data. In fact, we recommend you use a binary action standard for success fees. And in the case I showed you with the integration, that's what we did. We said, if you, the C something O, if you use any part of our plan, if you present that to the board, that indicates you found value in our plan. We were successful. If you don't use any part of our plan, all you have to do is send it back, sign something saying you will use no part of our plan, and we will agree, then it wasn't a value and you don't pay us. Okay, it's binary. It's either yes or no. And it's an action standard based on something they actually do, a behavior. That is the best way to set up a success fee, rather than a percentage of savings or a percentage of something else where now you're increasing your audit burden. And audit burdens are much more expensive than you would think.
I'll invite other questions because we've got 10 minutes, but there was another question that come in.
Yeah.
So what red flags do you commonly see for clients who consistently scope creep and eat margin?
So is it what to do about them, or what? Give me the question again, Ben.
So the question was I guess this is sort of like anticipate. So you priced out a piece of work, you sent it, the client signed it off, but are there any red flags to look for that they're going to be the ones that start having massive scope creep or eating up your resource? And then
I love this question.
That more juice per squeeze suddenly.
This is like drinking from your glass.
Yeah.
What are the signs someone's going to drink some juice from your glass, and now you got less juice? You got less juice per squeeze. I love that. I think there probably are some upfront signs. If a client is while you are giving them the proposal, and they're saying, well, this is going to be included, isn't it? And you've specifically said something is not included, that's a pretty good sign they're going to be challenging. We don't see a ton of that. What we do see is somewhat harder to anticipate with a new client. is clients just ask for more. Now, if we go back to the fee structures, if you've set a very high value-based fee, you have room to accommodate some level of request. And that's one of the nice things about a high value-based fee, is your focus is on getting to the end, not on the activities. It's getting to the outcome. And if a little bit more work is needed, great. In most cases, a little bit less work is needed somewhere else. And the client doesn't care because you're not focused on activity, you're focused on outcome. So scope creep is less of an issue. But even there, and especially if you're in you're one of the bottom two fee structures I showed you, scope creep can be a problem. And the clients say, well, can you do just another presentation? Would you mind flying out to present this to the board? Could you run this extra analysis? And I don't fault the client for asking. It's not really their fault. They're doing what they should do. They're trying to maximize their value. They're trying to get the most they can from a hired resource, which is you. And so don't fault them. Your challenge is how you deal with it. And your ability to say, what we like to say, our quote is, good for you for asking, and no. Right? So really, I'm glad you asked. You want to acknowledge your client, reassure them, tell them they're great. That was the right thing to ask for. Asking for this extra analysis, absolutely the right thing to ask for. Unfortunately, that's out of scope. Yeah, it makes sense for me to fly around the world and do 4 presentations on different continents, and that's the right thing to ask for. That's just way beyond the realm of what we had talked about when we put this together. However, if that's important, let's talk about how we supplement the engagement and make that happen. Okay?
Nice and good quote.
Right? Yeah, scope creep is not actually about the client doing something wrong. Client's always doing something right. It's about how you handle what they're doing.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Good on you for asking, and no.
Okay, another question has come in. Increasingly, procurement are being called in at the last minute to make unreasonable requests.
Yeah.
So you've pitched your 3 options. One of them's really high price, high margin. You're looking like you're going to get you more juice to squeeze.
Yeah.
But in your experience, can they overrule a commercial decision maker purely on that cost basis?
Sometimes that happens. That can happen. Oh, those procurement people. I think I have a technique on that, but let's just talk about it. You have a few alternatives, a few ways to play here. So this is directly on negotiation stream. The negotiating with procurement is more challenging than negotiating with the commercial person. So obviously, the first place you want to be is having your commercial contact do the negotiation for you. And I want to go to you, Ben, and say, hey, Ben, the folks down in procurement are putting the project at risk that you and I agreed to. I want to jump in. You want to jump in. We're all agreed. We're excited. But they're trying to make this non-feasible for us. So would you mind just having a conversation with them and let them know you're okay on this? Now, that assumes you have some power. And you might not. There are organizations where procurement rules the roost, which is unfortunate. Okay, so that's the ideal situation. If you're not in the ideal situation, if in fact, Ben, I have to deal with you and now you've somehow transferred to procurement, I have to not fight you. I have to collaborate with you, make you a friend, understand you, understand what your goals and what your role is. We have an example. One of our clients up in Toronto ran into this situation. They sell big projects to pharma, and they'd sold a nice big project, and then procurement swoops in. You got a discount. So we talked about it. He talks to procurement and says, okay, just like help me understand what I want to make you successful also. So how are you successful? And the procurement person says, as many procurement people do, I get paid on the number of projects I'm able to get a discount on. Number of projects. Yeah, or a percentage of projects, percentage of contracts that are discounted. Are you paid on the percent of discount? No, just a percentage of contracts. So we offered them a 1.5% discount. Procurement said, great, we're good. That was a pretty worthwhile discussion because who cares about 1.5%? So if you, rather than fighting procurement, work with procurement, understand what are their goals, how are they compensated, what's going to work best for them, then you at least have a shot at having a useful discussion. And there's a particular set of words that we like to use and advise, which we advise you use, which is, what would make this fair for both sides? As opposed to what do you want versus what do I want? What would make this fair for both sides? And put that on the procurement person. And you might be surprised at what they come back.
Yeah, agreed. Pausing for breath when you get that sort of like instant negotiation request, not trying to do it all virtually, trying to get some call, potentially using your stakeholder in the organization to help on that call as well. All great tips. Got a couple of minutes left. So if anybody's got any final questions, feel free to ask those. I'm just going to post 2 links in the chat,
Okay.
which is where a lot of people have spent time today, which has been brilliant. So thanks to everybody for doing that.
Thank you all for being in the chat.
Yeah. The 2 links going in are David's website and also our next webinar. Our next webinar is actually more of a product focused one. So if you're interested in resourcing or ops in the CMap platform, then sign up for this. It's a little bit different to our usual panel style ones like we have Dave today, but hopefully of interest.
Can I give you another link? Are you able to put that link in the chat? davidfields.com/juice. So before you all scoot, if you don't mind, as follow-up, so as a way for us to find out what's on your mind, see what you want to chat with us, if you want to see more of the goofy illustrations, all of that, if you can go to davidafields.com/juice, or just scan the nice QR code on your screen, pull out your phones, it should take you there. There's a couple of questions on that page. Answer them, it's all good. If you ask to subscribe, you'll be subscribed. If you don't ask to subscribe, you won't be. The articles we send out are good.
I was going to say, recommend the subscription.
Yeah, I would subscribe. You can always unsubscribe. They're quite useful, and we have a very engaged tribe. So if you come in, you'll see there's a lot of comments. People, and you can be one of those people that comment.
Sounds great. I have posted that link as well. So we'll post that in our email flow, David, as well, so that people who maybe haven't been able to attend or want to share it with a colleague, and then if they watch it, they can also use the link to do the same as well. But yeah, we're running right on time now. So I just want to say a quick thank you. So thanks for everybody who's attended. Thanks for all your participation and engagement, but particularly big thanks to David. That was a brilliant session, really entertaining, really insightful. But yeah, thanks ever so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's fun. It's a good group. People ask great questions, which is excellent. People can also find us on LinkedIn on Mondays to ask more questions, because that's all we do on Mondays. We just answer questions.
Yeah, they're good sessions, those. That's what I was talking about at the top. The first time that I saw you was on one of those live broadcasts. So recommend people jump on that as well. Every
Monday at 5 p.m. UK time, I think. Yes, 5 p.m.
Perfect.
6 p.m.
Yeah,
something like that.
Everyone's done with their firefighting and squeeze more juice out of their proposals that they've just sent off, and they can come in and ask a couple of questions.
And they can come and ask, and people ask more questions like, I sent this and someone said no, now what?
Yeah,
right. And we'll answer that question. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this, Ben.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again, David.
Take care.
Bye for now.